Hi, this is a video response on how to make Southern buttermilk biscuits. What we're going to need is we're going to need 4 ounces or ½ a cup of unsalted butter. Then we're going to need 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour. Then we're going to use some buttermilk, which will be 3/4 cup of buttermilk. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of baking powder and 3/4 teaspoons of salt. So it's just the 5 ingredients. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our butter, and make sure your butter is very cold. Make sure everything is very cold. So we're going to go ahead and take our butter, and what I've done was I've cut the butter up in 1/2-inch squares. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to break this up with our pastry cutter until it forms small little balls about the size of peas. And you'll have to kind of work this through. You can also use a fork if you'd like. What you want is you want your butter to be cold, that way it still keeps its form whenever it's in the dough. Okay, so now that we've got this just about done, we're going to add our baking powder, our salt, and we're going to go ahead and mix that in. Clean off your pastry cutter. Okay. Now that all of the butter has been broken down into about the size of peas, which I will show you, it's still going to hold some good squares and good shape. Okay, now we're going to add in our buttermilk. We're going to do 3/4, and this right here is a full cup because I had to make my own buttermilk, and I'll do that in another video on how to make that. So this is 1 cup, so we're going to keep 1/4 cup in this. Okay. Now, with your hand, is you just want to go around, because you don't want to overwork this and you don't want to break it down. You want it to be as soft as possible. And you'll know when it's done whenever it all comes together. Get these little stragglers here. Okay. Now once we get that, we are going to put it on a floured surface, just lightly floured, but I am going to go ahead and wash my hands real fast. And we'll get started on the next step. Okay, now I'll go ahead and wash my hands and we'll go to the next step. Okay, now once we get our dough ready, as you can see, it still forms a ball. It comes all together. And what we're going to do is we're going to set it on this lightly floured surface. and we are going to roll it up, or roll it out to where it's about 1 inch thick. Now what I want to do is I want to show you this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but as you can see there is still butter. You can still see the butter still in that form. So we haven't broken down the butter because we chilled it. Now what you want to do is you want to take you a ruler or your pastry cutter, and we're going to measure 1 inch, and that's exactly 1 inch. So we're going to take our pastry cutter, our biscuit cutter. Now make sure you do not twist. You just want to rise it up, cut it, and lift up. If you were to twist your biscuit cutter, it's going to inhibit it from rising. This should get at least 4. And we'll do the process all over again. You just don't want to handle it too much to where the butter melts. Make sure we're at 1 inch. Okay. And this will be the last one. And with this, we're just going to do it like that and just cut the edges off just to make it pretty. Okay. We'll clean this up. Now then, what we'll do is we'll transfer our biscuits onto our baking dish. And I think what I want to do is go ahead we'll go ahead and spray, just lightly spray with olive oil. And you want to make sure that these touch each other. That way there's nowhere for the steam to escape. And it will actually give a very good high rise. Now these will go into the oven at 350 degrees until golden brown. Okay, once your biscuits are done, you want to just lightly butter them. And these have actually turned out great. One thing I do want to note is that it actually is baked at 375 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes instead of the 350 that I said. Okay, so once we get the butter on these, they are ready to go. And what I did was, while they were baking in the oven, I went ahead and made some homemade gravy. So let's give you a close-up of these biscuits. They look wonderful. Look at that. Wonderful. Light and fluffy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my homemade gravy that I made, and we are going to go ahead and assemble one of these. Now you'll tear it open, and look at that, it's flaky. There's several layers. Look at this, several layers. Just so flaky. So we're going to tear these in half, or break it in half, and then we're going to add a little bit of gravy on it. Now this is just a regular sawmill gravy. We're just going to spread that over, and voila, biscuits and gravy that you can make yourself at home. Wonderful. So we're going to get a fork here, and we will give this a try. So good. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of me making some biscuits and gravy. I highly recommend this. And if you end up making the biscuits yourself, comment or do a video response. Talk to you later. Have a good day.